98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Well, good morning. I hope you had a great bank holiday weekend. It was a very pleasant one. I had a wedding, I had a 21st, and yeah, it was non-stop. So I'm glad to be back to work. Anyway, good morning to you. I hope everything is good with you. And if you want to get in contact with us at any stage throughout the programme, you can send us a text or WhatsApp message to 0877 98 98 98. You can also call us on 6797 981. And I would like to speak to you if you have ever been adopted. Have you ever tried to find your birth parents? If so, how did it go? Did you meet them? Did you not meet them? Did they blank you? Call us on 6797 981. Did you always have a need to find out more about your birth family? Because, and it's something I've mentioned before, as somebody who wasn't adopted, it's kind of difficult to imagine what it must be like if you are adopted and don't know where you came from, essentially. So if you have ever been adopted, call me now on 6797 981 and let us know what the process was like and whether or not it was successful. Because I'm joined on the line by a man called Tainan, who has finally, after many years trying, managed to track down his birth mother. However, as of yet, he's heard nothing back from her. Tainan Hooper joins me on the line. Tainan, welcome to 98 FM.
Good morning, Adrian. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Tainan, take us back, if you will, to when you first found out that you were adopted.
I was very lucky. I had wonderful adoptive parents. They told me at the age of 5 that I was adopted, but they made it sound like I was very special because they said, you know, we went into a room and there was loads of boys and girls and you had the biggest, beautifulest blue eyes and we knew instantly it had to be you. And at 5, you know, that was amazing. I was delighted. I was like, yay, I was picked. It was only really when I got into my teens that I understood a little bit more about adoption and feeling that missing entity within you. You know, it's very hard to describe, but there's always that wondering. I mean, at 5, my questions were, do I look like my mum? That's what I wanted to know. But obviously my parents couldn't tell me. They knew nothing about her. And I went on, when I got to, I think it was about maybe 7 or 8, I remember being in school and there was we were sent home with homework to build a family tree. And we had a set of questions to ask. And I went home to my mother and I was asking questions. She's like, I don't know, Tainan. I don't know. And it was the first time that I felt different to everybody else because I had to go back into the classroom the next day and say, I don't know. At the time, the teacher didn't handle it very well. She was quite... well, what do you mean you don't know? Yeah, surely your mother would tell you that. I said, I'm adopted. And she got quite annoyed. And I remember telling my mum, you know, that evening, my mum was very annoyed. It was the first time that I stood apart, but it was when I got into my teenage years, the longing and the wondering kicks in, and you want to start the process.
And as I said at the start, I'm not adopted, so I can only imagine what it must be like to not know who your natural parents are, not know your grandparents, where those of us who weren't adopted know all that information from the get-go. In your situation, as you grew older, you started to realise you were different, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically. The wondering. Who do I look like? Do I get my mannerisms from them? It's the little things like that. It's you know, I would actually look at my friends and they'd look like their siblings. I never looked like somebody, so I always wondered what it would be like. It's just little things like that. I mean, it was never, you know, I had a great family and I had a very supportive friend, so it was never a longing to replace or to find a mother because I had a mother, but it was just that longing inside. So
when did you start actively searching?
So I started when I was about 18. There was a bit of a queue, so it took me a couple of years to get into the agency that I was adopted from. It was now a charity and run by lay people, but there was still a couple of nuns around. And there was a nun who handed me over to my mum and dad in 1976, who was out of retirement, was working one day a week, and she must have been about 100. I'm not joking, she was in her late 90s. And she says she wouldn't give me any information. She's like, "Here you go, I'm not giving you any information, you don't need to know it." And I was like, but
really?
Yeah, I was quite miffed. But in hindsight, she was quite wise, possibly fairly awake. Because at 18, I don't know if I was ready emotionally or strong enough. So I was sent away and told to come back when I was 21. I've been given it a little bit more thought. That's what she asked me to do. Now, she told me at that point my mother was 16. That was only information she gave me. So I came back. I went to Australia for a few years, and I came back from Australia. I got back into the queue, and again, took a couple of years to get in to see them. But I found out, when I did get into them, my non-identifying information. So this is what they can only legally give you. It's a basic story. So again, I found out that my mum was 16. My father was 19. I was from the west of Ireland. I was born in Dublin. My mother had called me Brian, which was a big piece of information to try and process. Because, I've spent my life knowing myself as Tainan, and all of a sudden I told them I had a different name. I was called Brian.
Which name do you prefer?
I actually, to be honest with you, I've always had unusual names. It's always stood out. I'd actually prefer a normal name, to be honest, just blended. But I started. There's a lot of information to process. I mean, I found out that my mother's mother had just died of cancer. She was from rural Ireland. It's 1976. I was told that she was hoping that my father would come up to Dublin to see me, the baby, when I was born, because she could try and convince him to marry her. But again, you have to remember, it's 1976, it's rural Ireland. She was shunned up to Dublin. She was sent up to Dublin to have the baby, and he didn't communicate with her. Right. From what I can understand, or what I was told, is he told his parents. His parents were very Catholic and were absolutely not. And she's a sinner. The usual Catholic Church influence happened. So what's different in my case, I was born in October, but she didn't actually sign the adoption papers until it was Christmas. It was Christmas week, and that's when my mother and father adopted me. Then it was on New Year's Eve. But they gave me a little bit of an extract. They literally used a piece of paper and they covered over a letter that she'd written to me, but I wasn't allowed to see it. But in the extract it said, this is a really hard decision, but I know I'm making the right one. I know to have a better life with somebody else.
What was that like? What was that experience like? Hearing that information that I've made the right decision.
To be honest with you, I maybe it's just my nature, but I, for the first time, had a story about my background. I knew nothing. I just felt unbelievable sorrow for her. I just think the poor thing. She was 16. Would I have been able to cope with what she was going through at 16? Not forgetting the fact that it's 1976. It's a different time in Ireland. She must have been very frightened. She was sent to Dublin on her own to have a child. She's pleading with her boyfriend to come with her. I just felt pure sorrow. I felt pure sorrow, and I knew that she had. She did it for the right reason. She was only 16, and her mother had just died of cancer. I did find out as well that she had 4 brothers. So, she would have been required to go home and mind her father and her 4 siblings. I would imagine. That's what happened in 1976. So I came away from it. Obviously, it was a huge amount of information to process, especially the Brian thing. That really messed with my head.
So that was then, and that was as much information as you found out. But take me up to recently when you decided to do the Ancestry.com kit.
Yeah, just before that, when I got all this information, we decided to start the process of me looking. So we sent a letter to her. They have her information, and it was a long orders of parcels, and you're waiting for them to come back to you. And it was several weeks later, I got a phone call in work to say, "Oh, we found her, and we've sent off a letter." And I was like, "Oh, this is great. This is exciting." And I was waiting, and a few more weeks passed, and then I got another phone call to say, "Tainan, we have a bit of bad news." And I was like, "Oh." Well, we found your mother, and we sent her the letter to say that you were looking for her, and we were told that she's committed suicide after receiving your letter. And I was like,
really?
My whole life came to a stop. I blame myself for this woman's death. I was like, what have I done? I've made a huge mistake. I was vomiting and everything. It was horrible. I've never experienced anything like it. I was blaming myself for this woman's death. 3 weeks passed. I hit an all-time low, as you would, and I got another phone call from somebody else in the agency to say, "Oops, sorry, we made a mistake. It wasn't her."
My God Almighty!
And I was so.
Oh, right. Okay, so you discovered that she's actually still alive.
Yeah, that she wasn't dead. And I wasn't responsible for this woman's death. And, I was so angry. I just told the agency I never wanted to deal with them again. That the only time I wanted to hear from them was if it was direct contact from her. That took me months and months and months to get over. I just parked everything, and I was really emotional, and obviously it took a long time to process. There's a lot of anger involved, but there was a change in the early 2000s in the adoption laws. And at the time, they were decentralising a lot of the government agencies. So every child that's born in a hospital, there's a register taken. And out of that register is what determines your birth certificate. So natural-born children will go get their birth certificates, but an adopted child gets an adopted birth certificate with amended details in. So I had my adopted parents on my birth certificate. But with this decentralisation, nothing stopped you there was a loophole. There's nothing to stop you in the law to go down and actually look through the records yourself to see. Because all I had was her first name, Mary. I knew that I was in 1976 and I had my date of birth, and I knew that I was born in Dublin, and I knew that she called me Brian. So those 4 pieces of information, I marched down to Roscommon where the offices were, and it was actually my 32nd birthday, and I was going through these old-fashioned books, literally line by line, trying to find those 4 communal in a birth, the 4 common pieces of information. Found it. It took me days, but I found it, and I actually found it on my 32nd birthday, and it was a poignant moment, and I now had her maiden name. So it was a stepping point, and for the first time, as I had a full name. So I started the process trying to find her, but sure, look, it's near on impossible. So to get back to your first question, we're now a few weeks ago. I've been searching for 25 years. It's been going, and never was able to find her. And I was sitting at my desk, and I suddenly had this thought come into my head: try that ancestry DNA thing that you keep hearing about on the radio. I don't know why, but it just came into my head, and I just went onto the website and I ordered a kit. And that was it. And I did, the kit arrived a few days later, and I sent it off, and that was it. My sister is adopted as well, and she had done it, so I kind of knew the basics of how the ancestry DNA kit. But I do not know what made me that day, but I did it anyway. And they said it takes about between 8 and 10 weeks for the results to come back, but they actually came back really quick. They came back after about 6 weeks. So I was kind of surprised when I woke up on a Monday morning at 6 a.m. to go to work, and the results were in. They'd come in in the middle of the night on a Sunday night, and I was kind of baffled by that, but I wasn't expecting them. But I was sitting on the bus on the way into work, and I'm looking at the results, and I suppose what's different in my case is it told me I was 100% Irish, 100%, which is very unusual because there's normally a little bit of European mixed in with you, but I'm actually 100%. And it actually pinpoints on the map where my DNA came from, and it was Leitrim. And I was like, that's mad. I was like, and I'm 100% from Leitrim. But as part of the ancestry DNA kits as well, you also get matches. And there was 342 matches, cousins, first, second, third, fourth, all the way up. All these people that would be connected, matching my DNA. But the very top of the list was a guy, there was a picture there on the profile, and he was obviously building a family tree because he's huge amount of connections. And I was like, God, I wonder, does he know my mother? I'm sitting on the bus on the way into work, having only looked at the results, I messaged him, and he responded within maybe 4 or 5 minutes. I just basically said, hey, look, I've just done this, I'm adopted, I've been trying to find my mother, I get the name, and I said, don't suppose you know her? He was like, yes, I do. She's my first cousin.
Wow, right, okay, so we're getting closer.
Totally shocked. So we were chatting back and forth, and we quickly added each other on Facebook chat, and so we were able to chat live. And he was giving me all this information. He was telling me all about her and where she'd come from, and she was from Leitrim.
And was he aware of you?
No, he wasn't. So I was very quick to say, look, we don't know her circumstances. She's your first cousin, and I appreciate, but we have to handle this very carefully because obviously I want to make contact. And I asked him at that point, so he told me that she was married and had children, and was living in Derry now. So I was like, oh, wow, he gave me her surname. And I'm sitting at my computer, and he's given me a surname, and I found her within seconds on Facebook.
Oh, right. So now you can now put a picture to this woman. You now know what she looks like. You've discovered as well that you've siblings that look like you as well.
See, this is the whole thing. It all happened so quickly. I mean, this is all in the space of a few hours. So I have her face. When you're not friends with someone on Facebook, you can only see limited amount of stuff. But she had 3 or 4 pictures, one of which was her as a 2 or 3 year old. And oh my God, it was the image of me. I sent it to my mother, and she was like, "Oh my God, Tainan, that's you." But when I was chatting to cousin, I said, "Look, would you mind being the liaison between us?" I said, "Would you mind approaching her just to say, look, she's aware that you're building a family tree. Just say that someone's made contact with you, and let's go for it. Let's just take it slowly with her that way." And so he did. Meanwhile, I'm doing all the search and I'm looking for, but the next thing floored me. I found an obituary, and it was so. Obviously, I knew her name and I knew where she lived. Now she's living in Derry, but there was an obituary from 6 weeks previous. In fact, it was saying the obituary was for my younger brother.
Oh my God! Right. Okay.
He was 39. He was 39, and he died very suddenly. And he had died 6 weeks previous, on the day that I ordered the test.
Really? Right. So, the upshot of the whole thing is you've tried to reach out to her, but you haven't heard from her. But obviously, it's not a particularly great time for her.
See, this is the whole thing. I mean, I felt sick when I realised that one of her sons had just died, and I have just reached out, and I'm thinking, oh God, the timing is the worst. And I felt so bad, but something made me do that test that day, and I don't know why, but some people were saying, look, timing, maybe it's meant to be. Maybe this is the timing that's meant to happen. So I felt bad, but I just, in this obituary, I found that I had seven siblings, and I had all their names. So I now had her name and all my siblings' names, and I was able to find them all on Facebook and see pictures. And oh my God, for the first time in my life, I actually look like somebody. It's disturbing how much I look like.
And let me ask you, Tainan, finally, how do you feel about the fact that she hasn't gotten back to you, and how will you feel if she doesn't get back to you?
I think I've done a lot of processing in the last couple of weeks. So a week after that, I sent her. I didn't hear back, obviously. She's a lot going on in her head. But I wrote her a letter, and I just sort of said, look. First of all, the timing is the worst in the world. Had I known about your son passing, I would not have reached out. I would have waited. Please take all the time in the world that you need. There's no expectations from me. As a little boy, all I wanted to know was what you looked like, and did I look like you? And I always wanted a little brother. And I said, I can see now on Facebook that I do, and I look like both of us. I have done what I've set out to achieve, and I just wanted to tell you that I've never blamed you for giving up adoption. I've had an amazing life. I have an amazing family, so I just didn't want you to feel guilty for having given me up.
Okay, so you're kind of saying it won't bother me if she doesn't get back to me, but I hear a different story. I think you may be disappointed if she doesn't get back to you.
Of course. I wouldn't be human if I didn't. I mean, now that I know I have siblings, I want to meet them more than anything in the world. Of course I would love to hear from them. It's now for the first time I know where I'm from. I know who I look like.
And is that enough for you?
I want to meet them. I think. I mean, obviously, I have to say yes because it is, but obviously I'd love to meet them. But it may not ever happen. So I have to prepare myself for the eventuality that it might not happen. And I do, though, firmly believe that something made me do that DNA test that day. And it's a bit coincidental that it's the same day that her son died. And I don't know. Maybe in time. I think it might take her months. It might take her years. I don't know. I'd say at some point I may hear. If not, I think maybe in a few years' time I might reach out to one of my siblings. But it's hard. It's hard to say. I've learned a lot about this woman, and I haven't even met her yet. It's amazing what you can find on social media. There's a tribute written by one of her sons on his Facebook page, and he said the most amazing things about her. And she's had a hard life, and so I kind of feel guilty that I know all these things.
Tainan, I would love to stay in touch with you over the next couple of weeks and find out whether or not she does get back to you and what that whole unravelling situation develops into over the next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, thank you very much indeed for sharing your story with us. I know for people who aren't adopted, it's a fascinating insight to try and understand what that search process is like. But thanks for talking to us, Tainan, and we'll keep in touch with you over the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. No, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Good to talk to you. All right, there you go. Tainan Hooper is his name. And, As somebody who isn't adopted, I can only imagine what that is actually like. Now, next on the programme, I want you to try and help us settle or at least deal with a family row that I'm sure has happened in many households across this city. A listener got in touch with us last week off the back of a conversation we were having on the show. Now, we were discussing CCTV cameras being installed in creches, and one caller said he wanted to see CCTV cameras put in place in nursing homes. He told us he used to work in one, and after what he had witnessed, he feels there needs to be more surveillance. But anyway, on the back of that, a lady called Chloe got in touch with us last Friday saying that her family are currently in the middle of an argument about whether to put their mum into a nursing home. Now, I want you to have a listen to this. It's quite a long email, but listening to that man talk about nursing homes has struck a chord with me because me and my siblings are currently in the middle of a massive row over whether or not to put my mum in a nursing home. She is 81 and currently living by herself in the family home in Swords. My dad passed away 5 years ago, and while she's managing okay, in the last year or so, her health has gone downhill. She has arthritis, diabetes, and several other health problems that make getting around and doing things for herself harder than it used to be. At the moment, one of our four siblings will pop in every day to make sure she's taking her medicine, cook her some food, bring her shopping, and so on. We're all married with kids of our own, and it's become a source of a lot of fights between us. Who's gone into her, who's done what in the house, and all of that. There is the constant worry that she will fall and injure herself when no one is there. Myself and my older brother feel that the best thing to do would be to put her into a nursing home where she will have 24-hour care and will also have company all the time. She's not delighted about the idea, but hasn't said no. However, my two younger siblings are completely against the idea. They think she'd be better off in her own home and have concerns over how people are treated in nursing homes. They're making me feel like I'm going down the lazy route of dumping her in a nursing home, but I really just want what I believe is best for her. We have reached a total stalemate between the four of us, and I really don't know where to go from here. Has anyone else gone through this already? How did you decide what to do? Please help. And that's from a lady called Chloe. And we want to find out, has your family had this discussion? Was it a hard decision to make? Do you have a parent in a nursing home? Is there an element of guilt that comes with it? Or was it the best decision for everyone involved? Call me right now on 6797 981. You can text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. We'll take a quick break and we'll take your calls in just a moment.
Call 6797 981.
How do you settle a family row when the row is about putting Mammy into a nursing home? That is the problem that Chloe is having with her siblings. Mammy is 81. Chloe wants to put her into a nursing home for her own sake. The rest are saying no, she should be left stay at home. How do you deal with it? I'd like you to call me on 6797 981. You can text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Or maybe you're somebody who believes you should never put your parent into a nursing home. If you are that person, call me right now, because a lot of people believe, you know, your parents looked after you when you were younger and it's time for you to return the favour when they're older, and take them in and look after them yourself rather than putting them into a nursing home. This is the row that Chloe is having with her family. If you're somebody who has an opinion on this, about whether or not it's a good thing to do, call me on 6797 981. Now, Jean, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Jean?
Hi, how are you? I'm grand.
Now, Jean, you've heard the story from Chloe. They're having an argument over what's best for Mammy. What's your opinion on this?
Okay, I'm a carer. I go out into the houses and stuff like that. Why don't they try get a home care package where they could have somebody coming in the morning to get her up out of bed, give her a shower, get her dressed, give her breakfast and give her a med. Someone coming in at lunchtime to give her her dinner, and then at night time then to put on her pajamas, give her something to eat, and if she's due medication, give her medication, you know, and stuff like that, and see how that goes for a while. Because sometimes with elderly people, they get quite frustrated because they're losing their independence, but they haven't lost all of it. So sometimes as a carer, I go in and I just help them with the things that they can't do. Even a little bit of hoovering around the house, a bit of washing, clean up the dishes. You know, basic little things that they might have, like some of them can't put their socks on. But that doesn't mean that they should be in a nursing home.
And when do you reach that stage, though? Because obviously Chloe is worried that she can't look after herself, that she's got health issues, and that she needs to be in a home where she has 24-hour care.
But the thing about it is, a lot of people, and maybe her other siblings, are seeing, hang on, Mama's not a case where she's bedridden, or she's walking upstairs and she's fallen, or she's walking down the stairs, she's fallen, she's walking into the kitchen and she's fallen. So she's probably not at that stage just yet. But with getting home care, the home care will come in and help her do the little things that she can do until she does get to that stage that she literally, if the home care can bring them out for walks, and we can see ourselves.
But she does say in her message that there is the constant worry that she'll fall and injure herself when no one is there. And even with a home care package, that doesn't guarantee somebody's there all the time.
Oh, no, it doesn't guarantee it, but it also keeps us and the family all connected, because if we see any deterioration, if we see no, she's not really stable on her legs, or she's had a few falls, or there's a bruise on her and I don't know if she fell when I wasn't here, or just constant communication with family. So the siblings that are against the nursing home can see, well, hang on, we have carers coming in and the carers are saying this, so maybe let's have a look at this could be 6 months down the line. It could be 5 months down the line. It could be a year down the line. It could be 3 weeks down the line. But at least they're getting opinions from professionals coming in to assess their mum.
Okay, so that's what you suggest as their first option. Now, I don't actually know from the email. It was a long enough email, but I don't. Perhaps they have that already. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if they don't have that already, they should get in touch with a public health nurse or her mom's GP. And
get that put in place. All right. Now, stay there for 1 second, Jean. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. How do you deal with this issue about whether or not to put your parent into a nursing home? This is the dilemma that Chloe is facing. David, you've been there and done that.
Yeah, we have, yeah, and I regret it ever since we done it.
Okay, so tell me the story. This is your own mum, and she's in a home, but you regret it. Why?
No, she's not in a home now. She died 3 months.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Okay, so she went rapidly downhill, did she?
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
So tell me how and why you came to that decision.
Like there was all brothers, and none of us were able to mind her. Mm-hmm. And she needed care and all that, but what you call it, she wouldn't get out of bed. She just gave up altogether.
Her living at home wasn't an option anymore. Is that right?
Oh, big time. No, she was falling all the time. Anytime she'd get up to go off the chair, she'd fall. Get up to get out of bed, she'd fall.
Right. Okay, so her living at home on her own wasn't an option, and even having a care package wasn't an option because...
No, we had package the whole lot and everything.
Right, okay. So, when you decided to put her into a home, was it something that you argued about?
She asked us, and she was in the hospital for about 8 months, and then the hospital turned around and said we had to make a decision, so we made the decision. She went to the nursing home. There was a great nursing home. There was nothing wrong with the nursing home. Everything was amazing. But she just gave up. Soon she went in, she gave up.
And you think that was it had a devastating psychological effect on her?
Yeah, big time, yeah, because she definitely didn't want to be in it.
And within 3 months, she was dead?
Yeah.
And do you blame... It sounds like you kind of blame yourself.
Well, not to blame ourselves, what you call it? Just regret putting her in, but...
And what else could you have done, though?
What you call it? Like, I couldn't bring her to my house because I hadn't got enough room in the house, with no rooms downstairs, and she wouldn't have been able to go upstairs and all that. So I don't know what else we could have done.
But as a result, she obviously wasn't... She obviously felt going to a nursing home was the beginning of the end for her.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah, I think, definitely.
All right. You wouldn't be doing a great job at selling a nursing home, because I know that's the issue that Chloe has. Because I'm curious to know whether or not it does have that effect on elderly people, that to be put into a home or to go to a home is the beginning of the end for that person. Is that the effect that it can have on people?
It before mother. But the nursing home was great. Like, they done everything for them. They tried their best getting her back up, and out of the bed all the time and everything. Now, they was to take her out of bed. That's it. She wouldn't look at anything or talk to anything. It's just, that was bad.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's a sad story. How long ago was this, David?
Nearly 2 years ago.
Nearly 2 years ago. But it's even having this conversation today, it struck a chord with you straight away.
Oh, yeah.
All right, David, thanks very much indeed. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Jude, I'm going to talk to you straight after the break, but you believe that if the mother needs to go into a home, then she needs to go into a home.
Yes, and guilt shouldn't come into it, because guilt won't solve or alleviate the situation. It's not even going to make anyone feel better. And unless someone has the time, their family has the time, the effort, and willing to care and give them all the care that they need, if they're not going to do it, who else is going to care for the person?
All right, stay there for 1 second, Jude. I'll also be talking to a lady who believes that it's actually a selfish thing to do, to put a parent into a nursing home. We'll take a quick break. We're back in just a moment.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
How do you deal with the dilemma that many families face, and that is the care of your elderly parent? Chloe got in contact with us with quite a detailed email, talking about her 81-year-old mum who is currently living by herself in the family home in Swords. Anyway, she's her health is deteriorating, and she needs more than them just popping in once or twice a day. Chloe wants her to go to a home. The rest of the family don't. We already heard a story of how one man's mother was dead within 3 months of going into a nursing home. It had that much of an effect on her, a negative effect. He regrets the day they put her into a nursing home. Now, Jude, you're saying that guilt should not come into this at all.
No, guilt shouldn't, because if someone is feeling guilty, it's not going to alleviate the situation. It's not even going to make the person better. But unless the family members, like the children, the siblings, are willing to give all that care and all that time that the person needs, unless they're willing to give it or can give it, who else is going to care for the person?
And that is exactly the dilemma. Now, she doesn't actually say whether any of them have offered for her to go and live with them. I'm assuming that that's just not practical either.
Well, if any of them did do that, the question of going into home wouldn't even come into it. If her other siblings or her were willing to take on that care, why would even the question of put her into home even come into it if they weren't willing to give her that care instead of a home?
Do you think it is
home even brought into it?
Okay, do you think it's selfish to put a parent into a nursing home?
Not if you cannot give up that time and give them the care. How is it selfish? Like, a child is not responsible for its parents. A child didn't choose to be born. The parents had the child. If the child isn't willing or cannot give that care, who else is going to do it? And guilt should never come into it.
But stay there for 1 second, because I want to play a WhatsApp voice note from a lady called Kelly. And Kelly is arguing that the reason you have children is for them to look after you in later life. Have a listen to this.
I have 7 brothers and sisters, and if you ask my mum why she had so many kids, she'll give you one answer. So she never has to set foot in a nursing home.
Now, isn't that our job as children, to look after our parents?
No. So the reason why you have children is to look after their parents. So those children, a parent has children, and those children should never have lives or have children for themselves.
But listen to what Kelly said. Her mum's reason for having 7 children is so she never has to step foot into a nursing home. So,
in other words, the parent is being very selfish. Like, instead of saying a child is selfish for putting the parent into a home, isn't the parent very selfish for having children, and all the children have to, they can't have a life, is to look after the parent? The children never chose to be born.
Okay, stay there for 1 second, because Maria, you do believe it is selfish to put your parent into a nursing home.
I do, yeah.
Why?
Because your parents have looked after you your whole life, and that's their family home. You know, they're comfortable there. If they have a quality of life at all, then they should be left there to enjoy life.
Okay, but what in this woman's case, her health is deteriorating, and she's obviously a risk to herself by staying at home.
Well, if she's a risk to herself, maybe, but if it's a matter of the siblings arguing over who's got to call in and see her or give her a dig out, like it's a bit selfish. She's put a lot of work into you growing up over your years, and I don't think it takes a lot to
Okay, so do we have an obligation as children, because we're all children of somebody, to look after our parents when they get older?
Well, I have children myself, and I'd hate to think they'd throw me into a nursing home.
But is that how you see it, as throw you into a nursing home?
Well, if you're not in dire need of it, yes, I do. I think you should be left in your own home where you've lived out your life and, you know...
Okay, but in this, I don't know the life circumstances of these 4 adult children, but obviously they're getting into rows over who popped in and when they're popping in and everything else. Yeah. And in this case, there's a constant worry that she'll fall and injure herself when no one is there. So, you know, they're trying to balance it up, and they obviously will, at least some of them, think that the nursing home is the best solution.
I still think they could fall and hurt themselves in a nursing home. They're not going to have somebody watching them in the room 24/7.
No, but they have somebody who can tend to them if they do fall.
Yeah, well, my mum's had a fall, and we've looked after her, and she got sorted. But I certainly wouldn't ever put her into a nursing home. It wouldn't even come into.
So if it becomes a situation where your mum is 83, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
If it comes to a situation where she can no longer live on her own, what will you do?
Well, there's a few of us, so I mean, we could one or the other could take her in, live with us, or you know, come and she'd have room for us or whatever. But I'd hate to see her live out her last years in one of those places.
Stay there for a second. Let me read this message from Carly that's just come into us, and it says, I'm a care assistant 7 years now, and I see this all the time. It's the hardest, biggest decision for family members. It's heartbreaking. They need to sit down and directly speak to their mum and ask her what she would like and need as a human being at the end of the day. And if possible, all siblings should work a rota between them with the help of a home care package. With a home care package, she'll get the care, love and help that the family need. It doesn't answer the question, though, about, a home care package is great, but if they're worried about her being a danger to herself by being at home, that's the risk here. Johnny, you and your family had to deal with this issue, and you put your mum into a nursing home 2 years ago. How's it working out?
It's working out great, Adrian. It was a hard decision. Like, my mother was very independent all the way. She worked up till she was 82 years of age. Strong woman. But her health went down a bit, so we got a care package in, and we needed that for her, and that was okay for a while, but it just wasn't working out. Because you only get, it's limited with the care package. They're going to come in 3 times a day, maybe 4 times. They work it out a half an hour, whatever it may be, and do what they need to do, but in between that, there's no one there. And like, I have a family and I have my life and business, and I have to do what I need to do, so I could only call periodically. So the other sister, she lives down the country, so she couldn't really do a whole lot from there. So it was just getting to a stage.
Was it an option for either of you to take her in yourself?
No, that wasn't an option. So, because there was no one at home during the day anyway in my home, or hers, and my sister's her health is not great at the moment anyway, and it wasn't. So she actually requires care herself. So it wasn't an option, and it wasn't going to work out. So we just went for the care package, tried to do it that way, and tried to call as much as I could and trying to look after her. But she had a few falls. She went out of the house to do something like herself and fell off the step and hurt herself, and she ended up in the hospital and things like that. So we said, I had to make a decision. What am I going to do? Now, I've always been against like homes myself. When someone says home, I'm like, oh no, I wouldn't put anyone at home. But it got to a stage I had to sort of, well, what am I going to do? I have to think about this. So I had to look at it. I said, well, this is the only option. So I went, had a look, and I was like, actually, they don't seem as bad as what I've had in my head all these years without knowing anything about it. So made the decision, and got her into a local home close enough to us. A lovely little one, not a big commercialised one, a nice sized one. So that's what I wanted. And talked to all the staff. I liked the staff, and so got her in. Anyway, long story short, my mother, she was starting to have dementia issues, like she was getting dementia, progressively getting worse at that time at home. And so since putting her in the home, like the dementia thing is nearly reversed.
Really?
Because her mind is so active. She's so many things going on every day. She's so many people to talk to. She's not lying idle and just looking at four walls on the TV and waiting around. So it's only in the evenings or late at night now that she gets, she has little bursts and bouts of things.
Right. Okay. So the point being that, in complete contrast to that man a while ago who said his mother died within 3 months, your mother has actually thrived.
She's actually thrived, and she was in hospital a good few times up until with the home care package and that going in and out. And since she's gone to the home, she hasn't required any hospital care. Her health has got better. She was on oxygen. She was on an oxygen machine as well at the time, which she was meant to have, say, 12 hours a day throughout a 24-hour period, 12 hours of oxygen. In that 20-hour period, she's down to like 30 minutes or something on the oxygen, because I think, the environment is very controlled. Okay. The heating, everything. It's,
Can I ask how she felt before she went into the home, how she felt about going into it?
She actually didn't really mind. She was okay. She was okay about going into the home. And she knew it was something like, that she would be better off.
Okay, so she accepted that. But the bottom line is, with your mother, it has had the exact opposite effect of what that man was telling us a while ago.
It's unbelievable, yeah. I mean, I think it's just the best thing that ever happened. It took all the worry off. It took all the worry off me. It took, I can be just passing by any time, any day, just
call in
for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. Take her out, just go off, come on, we down to the coffee shop, have a coffee, get lunch if it's lunchtime, whatever time passing. And it's so easy, it's just...
All right, but that's a great story to hear, and obviously you're delighted with the care that she's receiving in the home that she's in. Maria, just listening to here's a woman who has greatly benefited from it.
Yeah, well, that's a really positive story. That's great. But if it was like she had health issues and stuff, but it was just a case of siblings kind of arguing over who has to call in and see her or who has to, I think that's. You wouldn't put her in for that reason, but that was a difference.
And that seems to be the situation with Chloe, all right. Niall, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Niall?
How you doing, Adrian? How are you?
Niall, you're a care worker.
Yeah.
And tell me what you want to say on this.
Well, I work as a care assistant, and I've worked with old people and young people. And if it ever came to it, I wouldn't think twice about putting my mother and father into a care home. Because I know the struggles what families go through. You know what I mean? At home. I mean, obviously the home care package, it's great to keep their independence, at home. But there has to come to a stage, Adrian, where literally none of that's working. I mean, and all they need is 24-hour care. Like, I've worked with families and they've always felt guilty about putting their families into a home.
And do you think that they need to feel guilty?
No, they don't.
Because there is this attitude that we have here in Ireland that it is our duty to care for our parents ourselves.
Adrian, I think that is just stereotypical Ireland. I mean, if they want my advice, when someone goes into a home, look at the people in the home. Do they seem happy? Now, you're obviously going to get people that aren't happy. Find out about the activities they do. Find out, do they go out on outings, on days outings, or if they have transport to go out, that type of thing. So they're not stuck in the home 24/7, that way. Like where I worked before, Adrian, we had a wheelchair bus, a wheelchair accessible bus, and the bus was always in use, constantly going out. Bringing people out. They brought one of our day trips was to Orison Outdoor.
So the point being, just like our last caller there, elderly people can actually greatly benefit from being in a home.
Yes, I mean, look, Adrian. I always believe you're not going to please everyone. You know what I mean?
you can't please everyone, you can't keep everyone happy. But people in care since that, and I know there's been the likes of prime time and stuff like that doing, and they show things, but you can't paint everyone with the same brush. You know, like I work, at the moment I work with young people in a hospital, and it's a residential care home, and that's, you know, how you have to look back, how would parents feel having to put their children into care, 24-hour care. You know where I'm coming from?
Okay, so people need to get rid of this guilt thing when it comes to putting parents into a home, because they should be looking at the positives, that there actually are positives to it.
Yeah, 100%. There's tons of positives to it. Now, I've heard of one family, and I won't mention, and it's a particular close friend of mine, Adrian. They don't want to put their family member into a home because of the financial side of it. Because when they, you know, under the fair deal scheme, when they sell the house, they have to give. I think they have to give a percentage back to the HSE, and I think that's selfish.
Okay, stay there for 1 second. Let me just squeeze in one last call, and that's you, Anne. You're on 98 FM. How are you?
Hiya.
And what did you want to say on this?
Well, I do agree about looking after your parents. I know up to an extent, if you have a big enough family, I believe in this myself. I know other people don't. But I do think you should look after your parents up until you can look after them. I've asked my own parents that about homes and stuff like that. They don't want to go into one.
Okay, and they've made that perfectly clear.
They just said, yeah, out and out straight. I don't want to go into one.
And what is their worry? What are they worried about?
Because where they have lived all their lives, I think they just want to actually die where they lived. Like what they done years ago. You looked after the old years ago in your own home, like your own parents,
so
your grandparents.
Do you think, and this is the point, we heard from a man whose mother has benefited greatly from going into a nursing home.
That's one story, and the other fella's story, within 3 months he was dead. She was dead.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're taking them out of the environment that they've been in for 50 odd years or 60 years, and all of a sudden you put them in there. You do hear of an awful lot of stories, and they're only in for a few weeks and they're gone. They end up heartbroken because they're not in their own environment. Now, I know what you're going to say is, why should you feel guilty?
Yes.
But you actually think to yourself, as the likes of all of us, we're all 30 and 40 years of age. Most of us have kids that are grown a little bit. They could be 15, 16. They can fend for themselves. But if you have a big family, it should be sorted out between all of your children.
Okay, so you
not leave them sitting there on their own.
But then you would agree with this message then from Margaret. Yeah. She says, shame on them. This is their mother, not some stranger. They should be delighted to look after her with love and care. I nursed my mother till the last day of her life, and now I look after my dad with the help of my younger brother. All my family live away. It makes me sick when people try to put their mother or father into a home.
Because I don't live beside me parents. Now, I try my best to get out 4 or 5 times a week to them. And I've brothers and sisters that live near around. Now, the furthest they'd live would be only the country. You know for a fact.
But your bottom line is that we should do everything in our power to ensure that our parents... up until the point. Yeah, okay, all right. So, and a lot of people feel that way, and that's where that guilt comes from. All right, but look, I'm way out of time. Thank you very much indeed, all of you, for your calls. You're listening to 98 FM's Dublin Talks. This is Adrian Kennedy. After the break, I want to find out, where was the weirdest place you were ever locked in? I'll explain why I'm talking about that in a couple of minutes. 98. It's 11 o'clock across Dublin City and County. Good morning, this is Adrian Kennedy. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And Ben is here with Tuesday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Good morning. Green Party MEP Kieran Cuff doesn't believe building housing on reclaimed land in Dublin Bay is a viable option. The president of the Royal Institute of Architects says homes for 150,000 people could be constructed on Sandyman Strand and the Tolka estuary. A similar idea was proposed 100 years ago, but it was shelved. An Irish teenager is fighting for his life after a fall in Lanzarote. It's understood he fell from a wall in the early hours of yesterday morning. Almost €35 million has been set aside to prepare social housing sites in Dublin. It's part of the Service Sites Fund for 7 areas across the county. And Maura Higgins says she expected to only last 3 days in the Love Island villa. The Longford woman entered the villa in the second week of this year's series and became an instant star on the show. And now you're up to date on 98.
The sound of the city. 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Where's the weirdest place you ever got locked in? Was it a lift Or was it like a sports club? Our Jamie got locked in a sports club recently. I'd love to hear from you on 6797981. And the reason I'm mentioning this, you may have heard this story earlier on today. AA rescues children in locked cars every single day. More than one child a day on average is accidentally locked inside their parents' car. I couldn't believe this when I heard this earlier on. A total of 460 children had to be rescued from locked cars last year. The AA also went on to rescue 359 dogs that had been locked inside the family car. I'd love to hear from you about the weirdest place you were ever locked in. You can text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. You can call us on 6797 981. Where's the weirdest place you were ever trapped, locked in? Call us on 6797 981. I'm joined on the line by Barry Aldworth from the AA. Barry, how is this happening?
Yeah, it's a bit of a puzzling one, and I think it's one which modern technology is slowly starting to phase out. For most people who have bought a car within the last couple of years, they'll know that it's pretty much impossible now to lock keys in the car, or, as we are seeing, lock much worse inside in your car. But it is something that still happens. We see pretty much, well, over a case a day of a child being locked in the car. Most often it's a case of a parent is, they're trying to load a pram into the boot or something like that. They put the child into the back seat. They maybe give them the keys to distract them for a few minutes, and the child unknowingly pushes the wrong button on the key and gets locked inside. Now, it's something that will obviously cause panic for any parent. The good news is that we are able to help and happy to help, but it's something, I suppose, for people just be mindful of. Maybe bring a toy or something with you in the car as opposed to relying on the keys to distract the child.
Okay, so 460 children had to be rescued from locked cars, but also nearly as many animals, dogs.
Yeah, I think it's something which it's quite a high number on both cases, really, and certainly I think higher than we anticipated before we went back and looked at the figures for last year. Again, I think most of the time it's just a case of the driver or the car owner becomes a little distracted and maybe they push the wrong button or anything along those lines, and it certainly happens. It's something which, as I said, modern technology is starting to make more difficult, but we're a few years away from it being a problem of the past just yet. And I think we're coming into a time, particularly in August, where a lot of people will be taking some time off. They may be taking trips by car across the country. So if you are loading the children or the dog into the back seat, just be mindful of the risk of certainly locking them inside.
Okay, and for those who may call you thinking they're the first people this has ever happened to, they're not.
Yeah, I think it's a case of any time someone calls through with this, they feel like they've just replaced the role of village idiot. But certainly it's not something that we see in isolated circumstances. We're talking about, on average, a child and a half a day, if you wanted to break down just the numbers. You're talking pretty much a dog a day locked in the car. And then when you look at the cases of keys locked in cars, we're actually called out to those kind of incidents 3 times a day. So certainly it's not something that you'll be the first person to have ever done it.
And again, how do you lock your keys in the car?
Again, it's kind of one of those old issues where I think it's a case of keys fall into the car, or maybe someone leaves them sitting up on the driver's seat while they're maybe changing a tyre, something along those lines. Car door swings shut, or you've forgotten that you've put the keys on the seat and you close the door behind you. And in a lot of cars, if the car is open and the engine hasn't been started for a couple of minutes, the car will lock itself. So, you maybe put the keys up on the seat and you're getting ready, you're loaded the car up, and the neighbour or friend bumps into you and you get chatting to them and you close the door without thinking of it, and 3, 4, 5 minutes later the car is locked and you are stuck on the outside looking in at your keys through the window.
All right, very frustrating. Barry Aldworth from AA, thank you very much, Lee, for talking to us on 98 FM.
Thank you very much.
So, I can't get over that one child every day on average is locked inside the family car. I would like to hear from you about the weirdest place you were ever locked in. Call me now on 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Adrian says this message from Karen. I always remember being locked in my mum's car when I was about 7. I just remember her being really nice and calm and telling me it was all okay, and she would buy me chipper chips when I got out. She told me since she was absolutely freaking out, says Karen. Where was the weirdest place you ever got locked in or trapped? Call us now on 6797 981. Chloe, you're on 98 FM. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So tell me about your locked-in incident.
Oh, God, I was it wasn't in a car, but I was in a company in Blackrock working, and we just moved into a new building. And I went to the ladies.
As you do.
I couldn't get back out. As you do, but I couldn't get back out again.
Oh.
Totally locked in. Couldn't climb out the window. Calling out for help, nobody heard me. Until eventually they heard me, and all I could hear was them laughing. And there's a guy in from an alarm company had to come and unscrew the lock and let me out.
And how did it jam?
I don't know. When I tried to turn the lock, it just kept turning. So obviously, I don't know what it is. It's only a new lock. But I have no idea, but I was mortified.
I should imagine having to call somebody to get you out of a toilet. And how long were you actually in there?
I'd say I was there about 5 minutes.
Right. And
before anybody realised.
And nobody could hear you calling out?
No, and I thought I had a loud voice. Obviously not.
But obviously not loud enough. All right, 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Where was the weirdest place you ever got locked in or trapped? Joe got locked in somewhere when he was 22.
Going on, Adrian. Just on the subject there of where you were locked in, yeah? I was locked in a social club one time. I used to take my nanny, the bingo, and afterwards we'd have a game of darts and stuff like that with a couple of her friends and stuff. And yeah, we were locked in the dart room. Well, they locked us in the pub. The dart room was open, the toilets were open, but the bar was closed. Freaking typical. Locked in a pub and the bar doors are closed.
Great story. Thanks very much indeed, Joe. We'd like to hear from you on 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Where's the weirdest place you ever got locked in or trapped? I got locked into the boot of the car as a kid with my dog. They think another 10 minutes and I'd have died. The strangest place I've ever been locked in, when I was 7. I stayed in a hotel with my mum. And my mum and dad went out for dinner. They organised a babysitter through the hotel. When they left, the babysitter locked me in the bathroom and left me there until she heard them coming back. That's a great babysitting service. I'd love to hear from you. 6797 981. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Where is the weirdest place that you ever got trapped? Jeanette sent me this message. She says, I was trapped in a tumble dryer when I was 11 for about 10 minutes. And the effect it has had is that I am now extremely claustrophobic. I can imagine how frightening that must have been to be trapped into a tumble dryer, because it's a very tight space as it is. Where's the weirdest place you ever got trapped? The weirdest place I was locked in was an outdoor toilet in Tenerife. It was hot and claustrophobic, and the door was steel and had to be burst open with a crowbar in order to get me out, says James. He didn't say what age he was. But yeah, I actually remember many, many years ago a similar thing happening to my own young fella when we were on holidays in Spain. Him getting trapped into a toilet as well. Amy, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Amy?
Good. How are you?
Amy, where's the weirdest place you ever got trapped?
In a bathroom in a shopping centre.
In the bathroom in a shopping centre?
Yeah.
What shopping centre?
Northside Shopping
Oh, Northside Shopping Centre. You're in the Jackson Northside Shopping Centre. And you got trapped in?
Yeah, the cleaner locked me in. She didn't know I was in there, and my ma was downstairs shopping.
Right.
I was only about 10, and the lights and all went out. The shop was closing, and my ma had to get onto the security to get me out.
So there you are in the toilet. Suddenly the lights go off, and you're locked inside the jacks.
Yeah, locked.
Oh my
Main
God.
door locked. Everything, lights went out. I was screaming.
And well, obviously it was your mum who spotted you not returning from the toilet.
Yeah.
So there was pandemonium then getting you out.
Panic. My ma was running amok.
My God. And did it have any... I was reading that message a couple of minutes ago from Jeanette, who is extremely claustrophobic as a result of being trapped in a tumble dryer. Did it have any effect on you?
Well, I never went back into that toilet again.
Really?
No.
That's mad.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Thanks very much indeed, Amy. 6797981 is our telephone number. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Where is the weirdest place that you ever got locked in? I got locked into a locker in school, says that message. I assume that was somebody doing that deliberately, was it? How would you possibly get locked into a school locker unless somebody actually locked you in? That's mad. What else we got here? I remember being about 5 years of age, says this WhatsApp message, in my auntie's house, and I asked to go to the toilet. My auntie showed me where the toilet was and told me, don't lock the door. I then completely ignored her and locked the door and got stuck in there for what seemed like an eternity, but was actually only 5 minutes. I had to slide the key under the door for my mum and auntie to open the door from the outside. Meanwhile, I'm in the bathroom bawling my eyes out. And obviously, it's funny because if something like that happens to you, you always remember it. And, you know, there's somebody who remembers it from being 5 years of age. Paul, tell me your story.
How are you doing? I got locked into Glasnevin Cemetery. I would have been about 14 at the time.
Right.
My dad worked in the cemetery and he was also the key holder. So an alarm went off that night, about 12:30 that night, and he decided to take myself and the younger brother, walk down to the cemetery to go in and turn the alarm off. Mm-hmm. Down we went, and whatever way the lock was positioned on the gate, we couldn't get our hands to open. One of the bathroom windows that faces out onto the Finglas Road there was open. My dad decided it would be a good idea to put me through the window, to come around, pass in the keys and open the lock. So in I went, and the bathroom was locked after I was put into it. I couldn't get back out. My younger brother thought it was funny to start banging on the window and making strange noises, but I was absolutely shit myself.
I can imagine. What age were you?
I would have been about 13, 14, but the fire brigade had to be called to cut the lock off the gate.
To get your dad out?
No, I was in the bathroom inside.
Oh, sorry, right, yeah, right, so...
The bathroom door was locked after he put... The idea was I was to go into the bathroom, come out the door, out to the gate, and he passed me in the keys, opened the lock, and in we went. But when he put me through to the bathroom door was also locked. So I was left in there for the guts of an hour, waiting on the fire brigade.
In Glasnevin Cemetery?
Yeah, it's not a thing I'd like to happen again.
No, I can't. I can't imagine a worse place to be trapped than a cemetery.
Well, my brother didn't help banging on the window.
Yeah,
screaming in at me. It's behind you. It's behind you.
He was older, was he?
No, he was slightly younger, and he thought this was great crack. Now we can look back and laugh at it now, but yeah, if the alarm goes off again, now I'll never be going down with him.
That's a great story. Thanks very much indeed, Paul. 6797981 is our telephone number. We're talking the story earlier on about the AA has to rescue on average one child a day that is locked into the family car. Now, how it happens, I have no idea, but it happens. And they are called out on average at least once a day to untrap a child that is locked into the family car. And we're asking, where's the weirdest place you were ever trapped or locked in? Kay. You're on 98 FM. Hi, Kay.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Kay. Where's the weirdest place you were ever locked in?
In a wardrobe at work years ago.
A wardrobe?
Yeah, it was a hospital.
Right.
There was a visiting committee coming around, and I didn't want to meet in with them, and I hopped into the wardrobe. And
Sorry, you hopped into the wardrobe to hide from the visiting committee?
Yeah.
Right.
And the ward sister came along and she was showing them around and opened the wardrobe and seen me. And she put her key in the wardrobe on the outside and locked it.
And you were inside, trapped, because you were trying to avoid the visiting committee?
Yes.
Ah, that's brilliant. So how long did it take for you to get out of the wardrobe that you were hiding in?
About 2 hours.
And were you banging on it the whole time?
I knew there was no point because it was such a distance from everyone, and she forgot about it and she came back in a panic and let me out.
Oh, that's brilliant. How long ago was this, Kay?
40 years ago.
40 years, but you still remember it to this day?
As if it happened yesterday.
As a matter of interest, why did you not want to see the visiting committee?
I just didn't want to have to deal with them. I just want to know I'm here. Work out as planned.
Great story. Thanks very much indeed for that. When I was about 5 or 6, says this message, my godmother brought me on holiday to Jersey. I went to the toilet on the plane, and when I was finished, I was locked in. I panicked and started crying, and all of a sudden the door was open, and my godmother was standing outside laughing. To this day, she still denies it, but I know she locked me in. A shout out, please, to my godmother, Sinead. It's a great story. And let me see. And there's one final message, which is just here. Where is it gone? I got locked into a sight box, and then they started to fill it with water, says that message. Like I said, it's one of those things that if it ever happened to you, you remember as clear as day. My husband went to work with the 2 sets of house keys and left me locked in the house. It was a terraced house, walled gardens, no way out the back. He had to come back from work to get me out. Got flowers as a sorry that evening, says Caroline, listening to us this morning. All right, brilliant stories. Thanks very much indeed for all of your stories. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. Now, after the break, in fact, I'll play for you now, why don't I? An interesting topic that isn't discussed very often, and it's all to do with pregnant women and their bumps after we got a message over the weekend from this lady. Now, sorry, where is her message? Oh, here it is. I found it. Yes, so this lady left this WhatsApp voice message for us over the weekend. Have a listen to this.
Oh, hi, guys. I'm just wondering, I don't know what you're talking about at the moment, but I'm 6 months pregnant and I am just really fed up at the moment. I have had friends and strangers trying to touch my bump, and it has really, really gotten to me. Especially the last few occasions, people seem to think that my bump is free range for them just to come over and touch without even asking can they do so. It's like they're petting a puppy almost. It's really, really aggravated me, and I'd love to know what your listeners think. Thanks, bye.
Right. It's like petting a puppy, she says. So her story is she's 6 months pregnant and she is sick of people known to her or complete randomers, described by her as friends and strangers, thinking they have a right to touch her belly and by extension her baby. Now, I've never been pregnant, so I've never had the experience of knowing, is it okay to touch a woman's baby bump? Have you, do you, or would you allow anyone other than maybe your partner to touch your baby bump? Is that lady being a bit too precious? Or has she got a point? Why do people feel that they have the right to do it? Because people do. And I was talking to a number of women in the office earlier on who've been pregnant at different stages, and every single one of them had an experience of people literally feeling they had the right to go over and touch the baby bump. or even ask to touch the baby bump. I'd love to hear from you if this has ever been a problem for you on 6797 981. You can text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Is she being a bit too precious, or is she right to be annoyed about this? We'll take a quick break and we'll take your calls in a couple of minutes.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
Is it ever okay to touch a pregnant woman's baby bump, or even to ask to touch a pregnant woman's baby bump? Call us now on 6797 981 because it's something that is annoying one of our listeners who contacted us over the weekend and left this WhatsApp voice message. Have a listen to this.
Oh, hi guys. I'm just wondering, I don't know what you're talking about at the moment, but I'm 6 months pregnant and I am just really fed up at the moment. I have had friends and strangers trying to touch my bump, and it has really, really gotten to me. Especially the last few occasions, people seem to think that my bump is free range for them just to come over and touch without even asking can they do so. It's like they're petting a puppy almost. It's really, really aggravated me, and I'd love to know what your listeners think. Thanks, bye.
Okay, she'd like to know what you think. Basically, she's saying that it's never acceptable to touch her bump, no matter who you are. Family or friends. She said it's like petting a puppy. Now, is she being a bit precious, or is she right? I'd love you to answer that question in a text poll, which I want to run now. Is it okay to touch a woman's baby bump? Let's say it's a friend, okay? Is it okay to touch a friend's baby bump? Text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. This message just came in to us and it says, without consent, it's legally assault. My wife never entertained or endured it. Why is it that women that are pregnant don't get touched, but pregnant women do? And it is, I never realised this was actually an issue until we got that message. And for that lady, it actually is a major issue. Siobhan O'Neill is from mams.ie. Siobhan, welcome to 98 FM.
Good morning.
Siobhan, is it okay to touch a woman's baby bump?
No, it's not okay to just randomly touch somebody. The thing is, when you're pregnant, everybody has an opinion and everybody feels they have a right to share their opinion. A lot of men will tell you what you should and shouldn't do when you're pregnant. And then people feel like, it's like your fair game when you're pregnant, when you have a bump there. People think they can put their hand on it. People think they can put their ear up against it and listen to see, can they hear a kick or can they feel a kick? And I've had complete strangers do that to me when I was pregnant. And
so, a complete stranger?
Oh, on the train, I've had someone put their hand on my bump. Yeah.
So you're sitting on the train, and a random stranger literally touched your baby bump.
Oh yeah. And I mean, and the fact that I was sitting, I was lucky that someone had given me a seat because most people don't even bother when there's a pregnant woman standing on a train. It's literally fair game. I mean, I think.
Sorry, what did you say? Was it a woman or a man?
It was a woman. It was an elderly woman. So What are you going to say? Get your hands off my bump. She was just trying to be nice. So
okay, you've just answered the question though. That people don't mean any ill will towards you. It's generally somebody being nice.
Yes.
So why are you saying then that it's never acceptable to do it?
Because you're not public property, Adrian. Your bump is not there for random people to touch. That's your baby that's growing inside you. That's your precious child. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you don't. I mean, people are going to converse with you. How many months are you? How are you feeling? Pregnancy is the most amazing topic of conversation. You can't go through the checkout in your local supermarket without somebody asking you, how are you feeling? When are you due? And people feel that they can ask you those questions, that they can put their hand on your bump. So I don't think it's coming from a malicious place. But when you're pregnant and if it happens a lot, and it can happen a lot, like if you're in a public kind of a job or if you're out and about meeting people all the time, people do feel people go, oh, congratulations, and they touch your bump. I don't think people necessarily mean to be bad, but I can understand the caller saying she's kind of fed up, and she's 6 months pregnant, so she would have quite a bump by now.
Yes,
And
exactly.
people-
So it has become obvious.
Yeah.
But the point being, you don't believe anybody should ever do it, no matter what age you are. So even an elderly person, that woman was being nice.
She was being nice, but she was being nice, and I didn't take any offence to it. But I was sitting there, I was very hot, I was very sweaty, it was the middle of summer, I'm very pregnant. I don't really want to be touched.
What about family and friends?
Close family, fine. Like if a friend said to me, can I have a feel? I would say, yeah, okay, go ahead. But it's I've been at barbecues and parties where people I don't really know, who I would know through a friend, say, would just randomly put their hand on my bump and would think that that's perfectly okay. What do you do? And the hand goes on. And to be honest, I don't like to be touched by people that I don't really know. I really don't. So when you're pregnant,
so what have you said? What have you said to people? Have you said, please don't touch me?
I would pull away. I would pull away and say, baby must be asleep right now, and I'd put my hand on my belly, and that would kind of cut off the contact. So that's what I used to do. I used to put my hand there and say, oh no, baby's asleep, not moving around, and I would pull away from that person. Rather
than say, I'd prefer if you didn't touch me.
Yeah, because, then you get, she's very hormonal, isn't she? she's very pregnant.
Yeah, so you can't win, basically.
You see, you cannot win. So I would rather try to diffuse the situation in a non-obvious way, rather than saying, would you mind not touching my bump? Because by the time if I had said that, it would have went around the whole barbecue. Oh, she's in the mood today. Very hormonal. Very hormonal. Don't go near her today. So if you are outspoken when you're pregnant, you're emotional. If you are arguing with somebody when you're pregnant or you're raging, it's the hormones. So people take you differently emotionally when you're pregnant. So if you stand up for yourself in that way, and that caller, I could completely empathise with what she said. But if she had said to people, would you mind getting your hands off me? They'd go, oh, very much. And then they would have been going to the husband, Jesus, if your work cut out for you, oh my God. And then it all goes back onto the woman. It all goes back onto her. That's why I would have said, even with the lady on the train, I know she didn't mean any harm, but I didn't feel like I was hot and sweaty and very pregnant.
Okay, so the message, even though you might think you're being polite, you're being, that's lovely, you're bumping, whatever, it's never okay to actually touch a woman's baby bump.
Yeah. Do you know what is okay? Give your seat on the bus or train, or hold open a door for somebody who's pregnant and don't let the door slam on their face if you're walking into a shop. Consideration, that's perfectly okay. Just don't feel like you have the right to go and stick your hands on somebody's belly, particularly if you don't really know them, because that's not okay.
Yeah, I like I said, I never really realised this is actually an issue.
But Adrian, would you have ever gone over to someone you had never met and put your hand on their bum?
No, not at all,
right.
no.
You would have done it too, if you would have done it with a partner or a sister or a close friend or someone who you know and trust. Somebody, I think if it's somebody who you would give a hug when you see,
then it's probably okay.
Because that's a person you would have contact with. So that's someone you would hug. I would have no problem. If it's somebody who you'd give a handshake or somebody who you've never met before, that's not okay.
Okay, so there's a woman who's pregnant on the floor upstairs. I shouldn't ever go over near her and touch her bump.
Well, how well do you know her?
Probably handshaky, yeah.
Handshaky. So what you should be doing is saying, would you like me to go and get you a cold drink?
Right, okay.
Because it's very, very warm and you need something to put your feet up on it because they're probably swollen, God love her. It's nice to just be considerate. But just because somebody is pregnant doesn't mean that she wants to talk about the pregnancy all day long and that she wants to be reminded of it and that she wants people to try and take ownership. Or some people would say to me, do you think the baby, if I put my hand there, do you think the baby might kick? And I thought, well, the baby might not kick, but I might. So, you don't have the authority to go and place your hand on someone's belly that you don't really know. Like I say, if it's someone you know that you would give a hug when you meet them, I think you're probably okay. But if it's someone that you wouldn't,
then you're not. All right.
Yeah.
Siobhan, thanks very much indeed. Siobhan O'Neill is from mams.ie, and I'd like to hear from you on 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Victoria, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Victoria?
I'm good, thank you very much. How are you?
Victoria, you're 8 months pregnant.
I am indeed.
And how big an issue is this?
Well, I suppose I think it depends on the person. I have had people touch me, and I would agree with everything that last caller just said there. Like, why are you touching me? I don't know you. Get your hands off my body. It doesn't matter whether it's a baby bump or my bum. It's my body, and I didn't invite you to touch it.
Okay, is there... No, obviously there is an issue. Is there a comparison between... You know, a randomer wouldn't touch you on the bum, would they?
I would hope not.
Yeah.
Although, you know.
But is there a comparison?
Because on a Friday night.
Because yeah, well, okay. We were talking about how, you know, people do it thinking they're being nice.
I would agree that people don't understand that they are actually invading, you know, your space. And I, from my experience, it's older people who do it. It's older women. I certainly haven't had any young, very kind of weird situations with younger people. But it is, like, I would find it happens at work because I would be face on with customers and clients and that. And I would find a lot of older women go, oh my God, you're pregnant, when are you due? And the hand goes automatically. They don't mean anything by it. They certainly don't mean to offend. And I don't take it offensively, but it is weird. Like, why are you touching my body?
That woman that left the message for us, is she overreacting? I mean, she said she's sick of people doing it.
Well, I think if it's bothering her that much, she should probably say something to the people who are invading. Like, my mother asks before she touches my bump. Do you know what I mean? But then maybe I put that kind of out to the world, like, don't touch, you know, and maybe she's putting something else out if she's finding that it's happening that much. Because to be honest with you, it doesn't happen that much. And as I said, it's normally an older generation thing, like my grandmother's age, that sort of thing. And they don't mean anything by it. And if I felt invaded, I would just go, whoa, hands off the bump. And then everybody laughed. And, you know, that's kind of the end of it. But, you know, it is an odd thing because it doesn't happen in any other time of your life that people feel it's okay for them to just randomly come up to you and touch you. But when you're pregnant, they get very excited. And I suppose it would be the same as when my baby is very small. I don't like people touching my baby. Do you know what I mean?
And again, people,
I feel protective.
Yeah, again, people think they have the God-given right to.
Totally. The worst is when they kind of put their hands near your baby's mouth and then the baby sucks their fingers and you're like, no, why are you doing that? Everything is so clean. But even though my baby isn't out yet, I still feel like don't touch if she's tiny, you know?
Okay, so the woman has a point, but it's not something that you go, oh, get away from me.
Well, I don't get annoyed by it. I do find it odd. And I think if it's bothering her to the degree that it clearly is, she's got another 3 months ahead of her, and they're hard. They're tough, especially in weather like this. So she needs to just maybe get in the habit of going, hands off the bump, come on lads, hands off the bump. And people will respect that.
When are you due, Victoria?
In 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Well, the best.
Not that I'm counting the seconds.
The best luck with everything. And in fact, a lady who's due even sooner than that is Amy. You're due any day soon, are you?
Yeah, just over 3.5 weeks to go.
Oh, very good. Okay, so has this been an issue for you?
I wouldn't say issue until the other day. I wouldn't really be like, you know, standoffish about people touching the bump. I have heard it before, like before I got pregnant from other friends and stuff. But for the most part, people have said to me, I don't understand the fascination with touching it unless, like that lady a few minutes ago said, if it's your close friend, you know, or your sister or something like that, then fair enough. But for strangers going, can I touch your bump? And I'm like, yeah, okay. But somebody actually done it to me the other day, and I went, okay, that's, you know, don't get in my personal space there. Took my hands off my bump and plonked their hands on. I was like, you have to be nearly cooked yet. And
was this a stranger?
No, it's somebody I know.
Right.
But not
overly
like
well.
You wouldn't be. Yeah, no, not really well. You know, to see it, say hello to, whatever. But yeah, just kind of came over and was like, Jesus, they must be nearly cooked, and took my own hands off my bump where I'd sit and just rest my own hands. And I just kind of went, I just immediately came out my mouth before I even thought about it. And I was like, all right, personal space there. And somebody else piped up and was like, yeah, that was a bit much, you know. But for the most part, people have asked. I don't understand myself the fascination with it, but I'm just like, yeah, whatever, sure. And like that lady said, if you turn around and say, no, actually, I do mind, you get the, she's hormonal.
Yeah. So you can't win one way or the other. But would it be rude for you to have said to that woman, hey, get your hands off?
I don't know.
Because again, she was only doing it from a nice place. She wasn't, trying to assault you.
No, it wasn't at all. Like, it was just a bit much. But that's why I didn't say, hey, don't touch my bump, please. Or, I wouldn't be like that anyway, to be like, get off my bump. But I just felt like they came up behind me, took my own hands off the bump, and I was like, okay, that's a bit, like, there's personal space, but...
Yeah, that's mad. Like I said, I didn't realise it was such an issue, and I'm trying to think back, have I ever done it myself? And no, I don't think I have, but...
No, I doubt you have, Adrian. Like, I wouldn't myself go and do it to other ladies, like, but that's me. I wouldn't have a fascination with going touching bumps. I can see that the lady is pregnant, and that's enough for
that's
me.
Enough,
you know
yeah. All right, thanks very much for your call, Amy. I'd like to hear from you on 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. And we're talking about this because of this lady's message that she left last week, actually. Have a listen to it.
Oh, hi, guys. I'm just wondering, I don't know what you're talking about at the moment, but I'm 6 months pregnant, and I am just really fed up at the moment. I have had friends and strangers trying to touch my bump, and it has really, really gotten to me, especially the last few occasions. People seem to think that my bump is free range for them just to come over and touch without even asking, can they do so? It's like they're petting a puppy almost. It's really, really aggravated me, and I'd love to know what your listeners think. Thanks, bye.
Thank you. We'd like to know what you think. Call us on 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
And this is Adrian Kennedy. This Tuesday morning. Isn't it great that it's a Tuesday already? Anyway, we're in the middle of a conversation about a baby bump, and the fact this seems to be a big issue for some women, the issue of people actually touching your baby bump. And the lady who left the message for us is basically saying, don't. It's like petting a puppy. You've no right to invade my space and touch my bump. Alison, tell me your story.
Hi, yeah, well, look, while I was pregnant, like, I would have, my hands were constantly on my bump. It was always, I think it's like a subconscious protective thing.
Right.
And I had a huge, big basketball bump. And this was actually after I'd given birth, about 3 months after I'd given birth. A friend who I know, who does my hair, I walked into her salon, and she said, came up to me with two hands, grabbed my postpartum kind of flabby, had the baby already belly, and said, oh my God, you're so big. And I just didn't know where to look. So I just said, look, I won't say anything, I'll just carry on for a while. She's doing the hair, she's like chatting away, she's asking me questions like, is your other child excited? And I said, yeah. And eventually, about 40 minutes into that thing, she said, so what's your due date anyway? And I just looked at her with dead eyes, and I said, he was born 3 months ago. And she said, and I said, yeah, but thanks for the belly squeeze. And she didn't really get embarrassed. Obviously, it's embarrassing, when you told someone. But I was going in there. It was 3 months after I'd had the baby. I was going to a wedding, and I wanted to try and make myself feel a bit more normal again.
Yep.
And
that helped.
It's the only story. I went to the wedding and I said, did you hear what this said? Did you hear what this said? And everyone was like, no, you look great. It was just really upsetting. But during pregnancy, people would tend to have asked me. They would have said, oh, can I have a little feel?
Were you ever asked by a stranger? And I'm gathering from that message that lady left, she doesn't even want people asking her. They just have no right to even ask.
Well, no, and I think it is invasive. Like, some people are like, yeah, I have a feel. But I think, look, even my sister had said when she was sitting on the couch beside me, I'm like, oh, he's kicking away. she'd say, can I have a little feel? And I'd say, yeah. But no one would come near me or touch me. And if they did, I'd slap their finger or slap their hand away.
Okay, so no randomer did, except for this hairdresser who decided to touch your baby bump after the baby was born.
And who's a friend, and a Facebook friend, and probably would have seen the baby announcement. Maybe a bit of an airhead, but I don't know. But the whole thing, before the baby was born, if I was on the Lewis or anything, I was very much, my arms literally were grasped around my belly and that's another thing on public transport. People don't give too much.
Yeah, no, in fact, we heard that a while ago. And it's something we have spoken about before. We got a photograph sent in to us a couple of months ago of a woman heavily pregnant standing in the waiting room of a maternity hospital with a man sitting on the seat down beside her.
Yeah, I've seen that in Hollis Street all the time.
Yeah.
Someone sitting there on their phones waiting for their missus going in to get a check. And one of the checks I went to, my partner couldn't make it, so my mum came, elderly lady, and me and my elderly mum had to stand up. And it wasn't until a pregnant girl who went in for her called me down and said, sit down here, who was being called in for her appointment. But yeah, people just don't think. I stopped. I actually went and had to beg my boss, could I drive to work and get a car parking space? Only really for directors. And he said, no problem at all, because I was pushed off the Lewis, and I landed on my hands and knees. And nobody picked me up, but this one girl came along and said, are you okay? But nobody helped me up. I was hugely pregnant. And no, that's another story. That's another subject. But yeah, no, I sit there with my two arms folded across my belly. If anyone came over and touched me, they'd be getting slapped right away. But yeah,
even if it was an elderly person, because we heard the story a while ago of an elderly person who touched a woman's bump on, and she didn't mean any harm by it.
Yeah, I suppose it's. I didn't find it with strangers. I would find it very odd if a stranger, but I don't think because of the way I just always had this protective arm around my belly when I was pregnant. I don't think I was looking like I was inviting it, and I would kind of turn away if somebody.
Okay, so you also believe that it is inappropriate to even ask unless it's your a very close relative.
Well, the experience that I've had, anyone who's touched my belly has only ever asked.
Yeah.
Said, oh, can I have a little?
But I got the feeling that lady doesn't want people even asking, and because refusal often offends, as they say. Claire, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Claire?
Hi, how's it going?
Tell me about working in the shoe shop.
Oh, back a couple of years ago, I was pregnant on my first baby, and I was 8 months pregnant, and a lady came in and she was looking for a particular shoe, and she just thought she had the right, maybe, I don't know, but she was just kind of like mauling my baby bump. I felt really, really uncomfortable. So I kind of just shied away and asked her to stop. And I thought, oh God, maybe I'm going to get into some trouble here. I better go and say it to the manager myself. But he was like, no. He was like, nobody has the right to be touching you. Don't be worrying. But it was even now, like I'm pregnant with my third, and I still cringe if somebody kind of outside of like my circle would touch me. Like I don't like it at all.
Okay, that woman in the shop felt she'd the God-given right to touch your bump. And did you snap her out of it, or how did you deal with it?
I just kind of like abruptly stepped back and asked her not to do it. Like she seemed, I don't know whether she was taken aback or not, but I didn't really care at the time. It was just really uncomfortable.
And what about other people touching the baby bump?
Like I'd be okay, like my husband or close friends or family and stuff, but just like people that I would see kind of day-to-day basis, or like just people you bump into or strangers, I don't like it at all. I don't like nobody would come up and kind of, as a previous caller said, like touch it anywhere else in your body, or a stranger come up and give you a hug. So I don't see why they think they have the right to touch.
But it seems to be that people do feel that they have the right to touch when a woman is obviously pregnant. And I find it a little bit bizarre that a randomer would do it, but it happens regularly. And like I said, they don't mean any harm by it.
No, I don't think there's any malice intended whatsoever. Like, it's more just the fascination and stuff, but they kind of need to take think and just think, like, does this person want to be touched? Like, how would they feel about it? Like, it's just like, I understand, like, elderly people, they're a different generation anyway, so in particular there's no malice intended, but it's really uncomfortable when you're in that situation.
Yeah, I can imagine. Right, okay, thanks Claire. 67979 981 is our telephone number. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Robbie, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Robbie?
Good, on yourself?
Grand, not a bother, thanks, Robbie. Now, tell me about your partner.
My partner was 7.5 months pregnant, and she was going through a bit of a rough time.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So it says I'd bring her for kind of night away. So we went to a certain hotel in Kildare. We got there, we checked in, the receptionist checked us in, she came around the front end, she said, I'll help you with your bags, no problem. She went to my partner and she instantly put her hands on my partner's bump and she goes, oh my God, you're so big. And my partner lost her mind.
So this was a stranger?
Total stranger, hotel receptionist. She came around to supposedly take our bags and she seen my partner was heavily pregnant. She put her hand on her bump and she said, oh my God, you're so big. And my partner went ballistic. Told the hotel receptionist, don't put your hands on me, what are you doing? And she goes, oh, I'm only feeling your bump. She goes, I couldn't care. She goes, would you like me to feel your arse? And she went mad. I've never seen her going so mad before. And I was just like, but she's only touching me a bump. She goes, so? She goes, it's my bump, it's my body. She goes, would you like a strange man to touch me?
And what did the hotel worker say?
She just apologised. She goes, oh, I'm sorry, I just wanted to see, like, touch, like, to feel. And my partner told her, she goes, well, get pregnant and you'll have your own bump. She just lost her mind. Totally lost her mind. Called for the manager, told the manager that the girl...
Oh, really? Like, she went ballistic over it?
Absolute ballistic, Adrian.
But again...
Called for the manager.
Again, the point was made earlier on that nobody would touch your bump out of malice.
This is what I tried. I tried to explain it to her once, and she just gave me a look, and I just said, "Okay, no problem," and I just sat down.
And do you think it was an overreaction?
Maybe a little bit, but I can understand where she's coming from, because straight away she turned down to me in front of the hotel receptionist, and she said, "Would you like a strange man to touch me? Would you?" I was like, "All right, no problem." I says, "I'll leave you at it." Like, but she went. I thought she went overboard, but now I can kind of see where she's coming from, because it is her body, and
yes, and that's the point. And in fact, the lady who left the message is even implying that people shouldn't even ask to touch the bump. They just should accept that you don't do it.
We're sensitive when they're pregnant, and we all know about hormones, but even without putting the hormones into the situation, it's her body. And I suppose the receptionist did just kind of walk over and bang, put her hand straight on her. But when I mean my partner went ballistic, she went ballistic. She called for the manager of the hotel, told the manager of the hotel that she wouldn't be staying there, that their staff are inappropriate. And I'm trying to say, like, well, what do you want us to do here? Do you want to go home? And she goes, I'd rather go home than stay here. She goes, like, she's just after touching me. Like, she goes, why would you just randomly come over and touch me because I'm heavily pregnant? Like, it's because I'm fat and everything. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh no, I can imagine it. All right, thanks for your story, Robbie. And let me finish up with this WhatsApp voice note from Sinead, who actually thinks it's nice.
I don't know, I've been pregnant 4 times. I think it's nice when people come over. It's just like makes you feel even more special. But I think it's more like I have a 9-month-old. It annoys me more when people start touching her. She's got a big smiley face. People are always kind of at her, and that annoys me more, especially if she was smaller. It's a bit like, that's a bit annoying. But the bump, no, that's fine.
All right, okay, so there you go. I think because you'd have somebody like that, girlfriend or wife in the hotel, you would be well advised not to do that, because you could get that sort of reaction. Although if you did it to Sinead, it wouldn't bother her at all. Interesting. Anyway, thanks very much indeed for all of your calls. You're listening to 98 FM's Dublin Talks. We are back again tomorrow morning, as always, at 10 o'clock. And if you want to get in contact with us for anything to be brought up on the show, send us a email right now to dublintalks@98fm.com. Dublin Talks, all one word, at 98fm.com. Barry Dunn is on the way, and in the next hour, he's got some great music lined up like these.